Hi guys, it was a good episode, but as always, before I get into my review, if you're new to this channel, hello and welcome. I summarize and review the latest 10 Kapımı episodes, say what I like, what I didn't like, what I think might happen next. If you like this kind of videos, like, comment, share, but most importantly, subscribe so we can meet on a weekly basis. First we have Erdem, who was very funny in this episode, of course. He started talking about a Spanish girl he started seeing because he broke up with Fifi, and Leyla and Melek didn't really believe him. So at Serkan's party, they made a bet with Erdem, who said that this girl will appear, and they were like, of course, you're just imagining her. So he was like, okay, if I win, I can stay at your place, so Leyla and Melek's place. And they were like, of course you can do that because you're just imagining that girl. And then an actual girl walks in and she speaks Spanish, and I was like dying. I was like, oh my god, he really got a girl. Then we have a little bit of Ferit and Ceren. So because Celine is back, and Ferit kind of wanted to warn her or just show her that it's not the right thing to do what she's doing, because she's like, oh, he wants me, he remembers only me, blah blah blah. So she does everything she can to keep Serkan by her side, and Ferit is like, don't get used to it, because as soon as he will remember, he will be back with Eda and you will be gone just like the first time. And Ceren watches their interaction, and I was like, oh my god, Ceren, please don't be like this jealous girlfriend. Of course Celine is a threat, but you have the reassurance from Ferit that he only has eyes for you. So I'm like, why do they have to be like this, so childish? Then we have Engin and Pırıl, and it was hilarious because Pırıl wants a kitten. So she's talking to a person on the phone about the kitten, but Engin comes in a little bit late and is eavesdropping, and he only hears that she doesn't know how to tell Engin. So she's talking about the kitten, but he thinks that she's pregnant, and he's over the moon. He's so excited. So what he's doing is that he tries to give her healthy snacks, not let her stand up too much, and even sends Erdem to buy some green apricots, plums, I don't know. I think some things got lost in translation, because when Erdem is actually ringing the doorbell, he got the wrong thing, so he bought plums instead of apricots, and Engin got really frustrated and angry with him, because Erdem was like, well, do you know how much they cost, blah blah blah. So it was quite expensive for him, but it was hilarious to watch. Anyways, Pırıl was like, okay Engin, I need to tell you something, but I will only tell you at Serkan's party. So Engin got really excited. He even called Deniz, the new guy, who I'm going to talk later about. They seem to be quite close. Deniz kind of got Engin this crib. So at Serkan's party, he sees that Pırıl wants to talk to Engin, and Engin gets Pırıl to Serkan to be like, okay, we have to tell Serkan, blah blah blah. So this is kind of the cue for Deniz to come with the crib. So when Pırıl is saying, well, I want a kitten, or we're going to have a kitten, and Deniz is standing there with the crib. So I thought it was really nice of Deniz to be like, oh, I misunderstood Engin, it was all my fault. So he takes the crib away, and everybody is so confused what is happening, especially Pırıl, like, what are you doing with this crib for a kitten? And Engin was so disappointed and sad that Pırıl wasn't pregnant. So yeah, that was kind of it, except for, of course, Engin and Pırıl talking to Serkan and Celine. So Pırıl talking to Celine, kind of trying to talk some sense into her, because Celine is very focused on Serkan. She won't do the same mistakes, she won't do this twice, she will keep him, she will have him, blah blah blah. So she will do everything to keep him close, and Pırıl is like, well, you saw how much he loved Eda, so don't get your hopes up. But Celine is like, I don't care, not really listening to anything. And on the other side, we have Serkan and Engin talking about Eda, and Serkan being really the old one, the robot, the cold person, and Engin trying to explain to him what really happened between him and Eda and what a great love story they had. But Serkan doesn't really understand it, because how could he change that much because of love? Because in his eyes, love doesn't really exist. So it's really confusing for him. Then we have Aydan. The only thing that we really got to see of Aydan is, of course, she's happy that her son got back, and quite in the middle of the episode we find out that Aydan actually knew all along that Serkan was alive. So I don't really know, or I didn't quite get it, where Eda really found out the truth about Aydan knowing that Serkan was alive. So that was it, but I kind of understand her, because she also also explained it because Serkan didn't want anybody to know about him still being alive. He made her to promise him that, and she also explained it, if he would have told me that I should die, I would have died. So of course he's her only remaining son, and she just wants the best for him, and anything he wants she will do. So I kind of understand her, but at the same time she's still team Eda and Serkan, so she's also kind of trying to get him to remember Eda because they're really close, so Eda and Aydan. So yeah, I wouldn't really understand why would Eda be angry at Aydan for that, because Eda also kept secrets from people. So yeah, I wouldn't find it really reasonable for Eda to hold a grudge against Aydan. Then we also have Ayfer and Chef Alexander. So they're in a relationship. Well, I forgot to say, this all happened over 2 months. So we made this 2 months jump kind of. So while Ayfer was working for Chef Alexander, they got closer together. So now they're in a secret relationship. Chef Alexander really wants to tell it to everybody, especially at the party, because he really wants to live out their relationship. But Ayfer is still very holding back, not really wanting to tell anybody, because in this period of time she didn't want to rub it in Eda's face, kind of saying like, oh look at me, I'm in a happy relationship and you're suffering because your fiance might have died in a plane crash. So of course I understand why she's holding back, but this secret relationship will be quite funny, especially when she's hiding it, and I'm really excited to see more of those hide and seek moments between everybody else and Ayfer and Chef Alexander. Then we have the new guy Dennis, who's an old friend of Eda's, and he owns an antique shop or something like that. I do think that he does or revamps old stuff, old furniture, and he works with Aydan. He seemed quite okay with everybody else, so he befriended everybody else. He's quite close with Engin, so because they talk to each other, and he made this crib for Engin, and he's also quite close to Aydan because they're working together. He also helped Eda search for Serkan in Italy. He called everybody he knows and just being really there for her. So I do hope that he will stay on the good side, because there was a moment where he was packing for a camping trip and he talked to himself and he was like, well, now I only have to convince her to come as well. So I do think he was talking about Eda, and yeah, I really do hope that he will stay nice, because one evil person, so Celine, is enough for me, and I wouldn't want to spoil this character because I would like to see him being this support system for Eda. And then we have Celine. What we found out about her is that she was in Denmark, but after the plane crashed, because Serkan hit his head so hard, he only remembered her, or like he forgot the whole past year. And the first person he called was Celine, because he remembers being in a relationship with her. So of course she came, she helped him. I don't really see a problem in that because she is an old friend of his, but the fact that she manipulated him in such a way rubs the wrong way with me, because what we found out is that she really did tell him about Eda and what they did, so fake the relationship, fake the engagement and everything that happened, but she still twisted the truth to her advantage, especially the fact that now Eda owns 45% of the shares, and she's like, well, don't you see that this was her plan all along? Don't you think that there's something behind it? Because why else would she own 45% of the shares now? So of course this is something that rubs off on Serkan quite badly, because he's like, well, why would this person be with me? Of course only because of money, because of fame, because of my company. So he sees her as this gold digger, and of course he trusts Celine because it's his oldest friend. But what I didn't really understand was he could call Aydan and Celine. Why the hell didn't he call Engin or other people? Of course Eda and her part, he wouldn't remember them, so that would be quite understandable why he wouldn't call them, but at least Engin, because it's his best friend. So I didn't quite understand this plot line. So yeah, then we also see her retaking her role as a PR manager and organizing press conferences for Serkan, and yeah, anything else. There are quite a few digs towards Eda, but Ada not budging and digging back. But in next episode we will see more and more of the Ada and Celine standoff, which I'm really excited about. But other than that, I don't really think that there's something to talk about Celine. She informed the rest of them about Serkan's situation and just what he went through and how she got to him. But yeah, I think that's all. So we can move on to the Ada and Serkan storyline. So we see Ada walking Sirius through the forest and also Serkan walking through the forest, and both of them looking up at a plane. So yeah, that was it. And then we also see Serkan being there. He was actually in Slovenia. That's where the plane crashed or something like that. He was staying in a hut and walking through the forest. When he was sitting by the fire, he got a flashback of Ada when they were at the engagement party and she had that yellow dress on, but he couldn't see her face. So my thought, because he kept having those flashbacks, and the most prominent flashback was him walking in on her getting dressed at their engagement party, and also one moment when she was in his pool and he was jealous of the swimming instructor and he put the towel around her shoulders. So I really do hope that Ada will reenact this moment, her being in a yellow dress, or him finding the picture of them together, her in the yellow dress and him beside her, and maybe that would be the last piece to his memory, and that's when all his memories come back. That would be amazing, but we will see. Anyways, then we see Ada being the big boss, so she took over the company. She finished all of Serkan's projects. She even got a prize for the best architect and the best design or something like that. Everybody is really happy for her that she keeps working and she keeps powering through her pain. Then we also see Celine and Serkan sitting by the fire, her being like, oh, I'm so happy that I'm by your side. I will always be by your side, blah blah blah. I'm not leaving your side. But you could see him kind of friend-zoning her, like not being all lovey-dovey. I don't know how to explain it, but in my eyes he was kind of friend-zoning her and not really giving in on her touching him and being near him, kind of, if that makes sense. We also see that everybody was kind of having a hard time coping with Serkan's disappearance or death. Ada and Adam were the only one that really believed that Serkan would be back. And then that night when Aydan was visiting Ada and Ada having that nightmare where she saw Serkan, which we already saw in the trailer, she went to the window and saw a shooting star, the exact same one that Serkan also saw. Then we have Serkan and Celine arriving at the company. The first person to see him was Layla, and then Aydan. Both of them were really confused to see him walk in. And then when he really walked into the office, everybody was really shocked, surprised and happy to see him, and I was like, why? I didn't expect this kind of reaction from them. I expected, of course, them being happy and everything, but why didn't anybody question Celine being by his side? So the first thing we see is that he's really confused who Melek is, because she hugged him and he was like, don't touch me. Then when Ada came out, she was really emotional, not believing her eyes, touching him, being really close to him, hugging him, being happy that he's back, but he was really confused. He was like, who is this lady touching me, being so close to me, being this emotional? And then she faints. After that we see Celine explaining the situation to everybody else, and Ada and Serkan being in his office and Ada questioning him, where has he been, what happened, blah blah blah. But all he did was be really distant, calling her Ada Hanım, so Miss Ada, and explaining to her that he can't remember the past year of his life and that he has amnesia. She got really angry at him, and I was like, are we really back at Ada being angry? Really? Like, why the hell are we doing this once again? This poor guy can't help not remembering what happened to him. Like, it's not in his control, and for her to get angry at him, I mean, of course I would understand if he would say something like, I mean, he did say that he's seeing Celine and that he's together with Celine because that's the only thing that he remembers, or the last thing that he remembers. So there I would understand her being angry. But all before that, her being angry at him for him not remembering her. Why are you doing this? You should help him remember you, not be angry at him for not remembering you, because it's not in his control, just like I said. But anyways, he tells her that he's seeing Celine, they're together, blah blah blah. She slaps him. I was like, girl, good move. he deserved that because he was really heartless and telling you that of course you're still in pain. You remember your story, like you wanted to get married and now he's together with Celine. Of course I understand your anger in this department, but all the other issues that you have with him, I didn't really understand. Anyways, after that she goes and vents to the girls because she's really frustrated with him not remembering her but remembering Celine. And I'm like, girl, don't be so childish. Just understand the medical issue here, not the fact like he didn't want to forget you but he did, so it's not really his fault. But anyways, at the same time he's talking to Engin and wanting some answers, and later in the episode he also tells Engin that he called Celine or something like that, and why he thinks that Celine is kind of a rock for him at the moment is because she's the only person that didn't change, because Engin got married to Pagul, the company changed, so many things changed around here, but Celine stayed the same. So he needs that constant thing in his life, and that's Celine at the moment. When Engin was explaining their situation to Serkan, so Eda and Serkan's situation and story, he didn't quite believe it because he didn't believe in love and he can't understand how can a person change that much just for love. So he's back to being the normal and old Serkan Bolat, being the robot, being the ice cube kind of. Then we have Aydan coming to the company. That's the first time she actually sees him in person, and she also tells him that she will throw a welcome back party for him, which we will see at the end of the episode. What I thought was really funny was when Erdem came with Sirius and Sirius went to Eda, but then Serkan called him. Sirius of course went to Serkan. He was really happy about that. But when Eda called Sirius back, of course the dog came back, and Serkan was really confused why Sirius was doing that. And also when he was talking to Engin, he saw all the pictures on the table because Eda took over his office, put flowers there, put pictures of them there. So when he saw the pictures of them, he turned them upside down so he wouldn't look at them, because I do think that it pained him that there is proof of something that happened but he couldn't remember it. Then we have the press conference happening where Serkan made a statement that he's back, but before that Eda actually handcuffed him and he got really angry at her. Of course, like in the first episode, she was not budging, being like, well, I don't care, I'm really stubborn. So kind of recreating this moment they had in the first episode. So they had this press conference. Eda was telling him to play along, say that they were getting married, blah blah blah, and he's like, no, I won't say such thing because it wouldn't happen and it didn't happen or something like that. And the press really asked him about his personal life and he tried to avoid this question, so Eda took over. Then there's also this meeting with Pelin. So Serkan had this project with this woman. Eda took over and this woman really likes Eda, and when Serkan was like, oh, she doesn't know what she's talking about, I know you more and I looked over the documents, blah blah blah, I know what you want. But the woman was like, no, I actually started working with Eda and we get along really well and I like her ideas, so I will continue working with her. So Eda gets the project, and it was another kind of sign for Serkan that she knows what she's doing and she's great at it, because he got really angry when he saw how Eda ran his company. So after everything, a locksmith comes and frees Eda and Serkan from the handcuffs, and in the evening Eda is so frustrated with this whole situation that she goes to Serkan's place to confront him. And Celine was actually there and they were talking and being quite close, and I was like, oh my god, if Eda sees that she would lose it even more. But thank god Celine goes away. So when Eda comes, Serkan is all by himself, but Eda sees that there are two glasses, so she knows that Celine was also there. She gets really angry at him, screams at him, how can you not remember this time? Shows him pictures and him being really cold and explaining to her, I can't remember anything, you're a stranger to me, blah blah blah. And I kind of understand him, like, this person is coming and telling me some things that I don't remember, so why should I trust this person on top of me not really trusting anybody? So those pictures don't really help him, and I was like, girl, you shouldn't force your story stories and your memories on him, because it wouldn't help him. You should kind of guide him and be by his side and help him have those flashbacks, tell him stories, show him pictures, but not angrily. So this was kind of her bad trait in this episode, her being constantly angry at Serkan for not remembering her, even though it's not really his fault. Like, his brain is working like that, and I don't think that the old Serkan would have wanted to forget her. And also, before he left, he told her that he loves her that much that even if he would forget her or something like that, he would fall in love with her 100 more times. So he will keep falling in love with her because she's so special, blah blah blah. I do think that Ada should change her tactics and not be angry at him, and that's actually what she does. There's also this talk with this doctor. So when Serkan had this exam, Aydan, Celine and Ada were waiting for the results, and Serkan was really confused. What is Ada doing there? So the doctor tells them that he doesn't know if Serkan will ever regain his memory. He's young, so maybe it will come back, maybe not. And yeah, so after that we see Serkan in his office. He took all the flowers away. Ada was really confused why he did that, because she wants to be in this office as well, but Serkan is like, no, you can have the upstairs office just like your grandma, blah blah blah. But she's like, no, I'm going to take this one. So she's on the other side of the table. He requested his laptop, but he doesn't know his password, because the password is actually the coordinates for Ada's star that he bought her. So she was having the time of her life, him not remembering the password and him begging her to give it to him. So when she tells him the coordinates, he's like, what a stupid thing. And when she tells him that it's not stupid because it's the star that you bought me, he's like, what? I would never do that. Then at the party, everybody was weirded out to see Serkan and Celine being so close, and then Ada appeared. Serkan couldn't take his eyes off her, so he got really affected. Oh wow, completely forgot. When he entered the building, he touched his heart, like he had a physical reaction to being there, and Ada also had some kind of reaction. So his body knows Ada and his heart knows Ada, but his mind is still very confused, very clouded. So when she enters the party, he can't take his eyes off her. Celine is giving her the evil eye, and she actually has a plan to kiss him at the party, because she's like, well, Serkan said that it's all a dream for him. So she's like, how can you wake up a sleeping prince? Of course, through a kiss. So when Celine goes somewhere, Ada goes to Serkan, starts talking to him. Or before that, actually, she goes and takes a drink, and Celine is talking to Serkan, wanting to give him some food or something like that, and Ada is like, no, he doesn't like that. And he's very surprised that she knows that, and also quite confused, like, this girl knows too much about me. As soon as Ada arrives and sits down next to him, he again has this heart reaction, and she says, well, your mind doesn't remember me, but your heart does, or something along those lines. Then Ada goes in for the kiss. Celine comes, watches it. Serkan, you could really see him enjoying it, but at the same time kind of fighting his feelings for Ada and fighting the feelings that he was feeling while kissing Ada. So he's really confused, stands up, wants to make an announcement, and I do think that because Ada confused him even more, and he doesn't like confusion, he wants some steady things, he wants to know what is happening, planning everything, and the only constant thing in his life, what he remembers, is Celine. So what does he do? He proposes to Celine. I was like, what the actual F are you doing? And that's the end. But thank God we got a trailer. So of course Celine accepted the proposal, and I was like, really? Ada being devastated, Ada giving the engagement ring back to Serkan, and I do think that he will have a flashback. I really do hope that he will have a flashback when he sees the ring. And then we see that standoff between Ada and Celine. Ada being like, well, how would you feel when Serkan finally remembers me? Blah, blah, blah. But Celine is like, well, it won't happen, blah, blah, blah. So finally you accepted me and Serkan being together. So her being a biatch, of course. And then we see Serkan getting a glass of water and some lemon and sniffing it. Ada is really surprised to see him doing that. He's like, well, it relieves stress. And she asks him where did he learn that, but we didn't get an answer, and I really do hope that he would say something intelligent, or he would say something like, I heard about it but I don't know from whom. So yeah, I don't think that the lemon will nudge his memory. Yeah, I do think that that's all. I can't really say anything more. I really do hope that I mentioned everything. I hope I didn't forget anything. If I did, I'm really sorry. If you still like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are on this amazing episode. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Ring that bell to be notified whenever I post something, and I will see you next time. Bye!